Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Hey, welcome to Live It Up, the show where we explore and discuss how to take your life to that next level and beyond. We cover health, wealth, relationships, and how to create a life that feels good. Because after all, that's what we ultimately want. We want to feel good in our business, in our life, in our marriage. I'm your host and coach, Fletcher Ellingson. Amy is out today, so we're going to be taking the opportunity to speak with local business owner, visionary, and my friend, Mr. Russ McClellan. Stick around as we discuss fear, courage, the power of story, and who knows what else. You never know where the conversation is going to go when you're hanging out with Russ, but you do know it's going to be good. But before we go on to that, I want to remind you that if you have questions you would like us to answer on or off the air, you can email those directly to me at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. Hey, you don't have to suffer. You don't have to try to figure it out all on your own. There are answers and solutions and ways to get unstuck and move forward powerfully. I also want to invite you to spend a special 2 hours with me on December 29th. Put it on your calendars. What we're going to do is we're going to together spend a couple hours virtually in an event called Ready, Set, Goal. And this is where you're going to hang out with me, and I'm going to do the work with you. It's going to be an evening of goal setting, but not just any goal setting. You see, I've been to a lot of goal setting workshops, and while most of them are really good, I always get something out of them. I frequently feel that they're usually lacking 2 or 3 critical elements. And I want to teach you the way I set goals. I want to help set you up for success so you can really go into 2022 powerfully and understand what happens psychologically when we sit down to write goals. Because for a lot of people, goal setting is not an enjoyable event. It's not. And so people set goals, they don't feel good about the goals, they don't hit the goals. I want to set you up for success. So if you're interested in going powerfully into 2022, then email me again at fletcher@fletcherellingson.com. I'll send you the details. I'll send you the Zoom link. It's a free event, so put it on your calendar. Join me. It's going to be at 6:30 p.m. For a couple hours. I look forward to seeing you. Hey, today I really want to spend as much time with Russ as I can, so we're not going to I'm not going to address an email on the air today, but we're going to go to a quick commercial break, then we're going to dive into some conversation with Russ. Stick around. Hey guys, welcome back to Live It Up. I'm Fletcher Ellingson, your host and coach. Today we're talking with Mr. Russ McClellan here. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Good to see you.
How you doing, Fletcher?
As always.
Yeah.
Hey, we were just talking, just before during the commercial break about the real estate school that you're offering through KW. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so essentially, Keller Williams is partnered with the largest school in the country, and we're now able to, because we have so many offices nationwide and worldwide, we're able to do this partnership, which now provides a free curriculum. So that 90 hours, that pre-licensing requirements for real estate used to cost $500 or so, it's now free.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the idea is just to help people get out of whatever situation they might be, whether it's I'm in a job that I don't like, I want to make a career change, or maybe it's just I want to get a real estate license so I can be a referring agent.
Yeah.
Because once you have a real estate license, then it's legal for us as designated brokers to pay you. So try to imagine if you're working a job, let's say as a server, somebody walks in and says, hey, I'm looking for real estate. You go, hey, I'm affiliated, I'm licensed, but I'm a referring agent. So I have a friend that's in the business. I'd like you to call them. They're really good. Mm-hmm. And so you get that personal testimony. Well, then you're now going to get 25% of that selling side of the commission for doing 5 minutes worth of work.
That is not shabby.
So that's another option. There's some people that want to do it part-time, full-time, you name it. The thing that I love about real estate is it's a pretty low barrier to entry, but with an unlimited potential.
Yeah.
And we are also adding a different level than history has ever done before. We're offering what's called KW Prep and a course called Ignite, all free.
I like this too, because what you were saying earlier is like sometimes people get their license and then they're just expected like, all right, go make it happen. But you're taking it that next step where you're really doing some coaching, mentoring, continual education to set them up for success. Is that accurate?
100% accurate. You know, there's your phone, there's your desk, call your friends and family until you burn out. We don't do that.
Yeah.
And you know, and for a lot, not a lot of people are doing that anymore, but for a long time in real estate, we were given a bad rap because that's kind of what happened. There just wasn't a lot of mentorship in training. And one of the things Keller Williams likes to pride themselves on, and why they grew to be the biggest company in the world in real estate by far, is that they believe we're an education and training company that happens to sell real estate.
I love it. Yeah.
Recently, we're also a technology company that happens to sell real estate. So, as everybody, I think barbers are technology companies that happen to cut hair these days. I mean, everybody, if you're not on the web, if you're not using some of that technology, you're in trouble. But with Keller Williams, our owner, Gary Keller, spent about $1 billion over the last 4 years, hired 350 technologists, and developed a program called Command, which centralized all of those things that you used to have to reach out into various third-party affiliate companies to do, like contact management, lead generation programs, and get those lead costs down, where so many realtors used to pay Zillow, and some still do, and they're writing those big checks.
Yeah.
We can get our company can get those leads down to less than around $1 a lead in most cases.
Whoa, that's impressive.
Yeah, it's all about that $1 billion spent
Yeah,
before. You know, we just leverage that, and that's the beautiful thing about having a powerful franchise behind you.
Cool. Well, I love it. Well, so yeah, if you're thinking, ever thought about getting into real estate, like Russ said, just like even part-time or as a referral agent, give him a call. They got a great company. I'm very familiar with him and a lot of his agents and the KW methodology and mindset. Great company.
Yeah, thank you. We have team leaders, productivity coaches. I mean, people that are hired to do nothing but make you successful, and all you have to do is show up.
Yeah, really, really powerful. And speaking of power, speaking of empowerment and courage and fear that goes along with running your own business,
Yeah.
let's talk about courage and fear, because you were recently on you went out in the woods for how many days? 18?
18 days off grid, up in the mountains, Rocky Mountains of Idaho.
Yeah.
Backcountry.
Doing some hunting, right, with some friends and or family.
Yeah.
And you ran into some pretty hairy situations there.
Yeah, you can. You know, when you find yourself, we fly into a dirt runway, they drop us off, then we hiked about 10 miles in, spike camped it. Weather can change quickly. We were able to, fortunately, get an elk. That was about 10 miles from our base camp, so that's a lot of packing. If you've ever hunted, they're big animals. So one night at about, 11 o'clock at night on a trail, on a cliff on the side of nowhere, wolves all around me, meat on my back, horns wrapped around me, so I'm kind of like a weeble wobble, if anybody remembers what those are.
Oh, yeah.
Except I didn't pop back up nearly as quick, kind of hands and knees and snowing sideways and 20 degrees. And, in those moments, I actually thought about you, because one of the things you often say is that courage cannot be present without fear.
Yeah.
But fear can be present without courage.
Yes.
So in those defining moments where you put yourself into a state mentally where you have a choice.
Mm-hmm.
I could stop, probably get eaten by a wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this isn't a fake wolf story. Like,
Right.
that trip, not that far away from us, one had to be shot because it came into a camp,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Yeah, this is a real deal.
it's a real deal. And when you're hearing them and they're not that far away and you have a lot of meat on your back and no guns, it's an interesting feeling at 11 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
snowing sideways. So what happens is, I thought about you because in those moments of capacity, we often don't understand what we're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And that's part of the fun and part of the challenge of putting yourself in situations. And I'm not saying that situation is for everybody, but it could be as simple as, I want to run a mile,
Yes.
and right now I can't.
Yes.
And there's a lot that goes along with that mental capacity change, which I think is a derivative or turns into self-esteem and confidence, which then leads to all kinds of positive things.
Yes. Yeah, really good. And I think let's go one step further and talk about, well, first of all, I want to reiterate, if there is fear present, the gift of fear is that courage is also available to you. Because courage only shows up in times where there is fear, right? You cannot have courage without fear. But let's even go further and look at what courage is, or what fear is. At the core of fear is a story, right? Mm-hmm. The story is, oh my God, wolves, I hear them, I maybe can see them. I'm probably going to die. I'm probably going to get eaten, right?
There's that conclusion problem.
Yeah, right.
Assumption.
Yeah, exactly. That false evidence appearing real. But the danger is actually very real. But that at the core of fear is a story. That story might hold you back from playing a big game in life, right? It might make you freeze up when you're out there carrying that elk, right? And just like hope for the best. Or you can get you ready for a fight, right? We know that. But at the core of fear is a story. Now, at the core of courage is also a story. And so the practice of feeling good, the curriculum that you've gone through and that we work on is the power of feeling, or the practice of feeling good is about bringing that empowering story to the moment. So what was the story that you focused on when you were out there?
Well, I also hunted, as you mentioned, with my family. I had a nephew and a son-in-law, which are both a little younger than me, or maybe a lot younger than me, faster than me. So I was more of the turtle, and they were the hare, and I had the horns to defend my slowness a little bit, and they were big elk horns wrapped around. But as I watched them work, and I watched them do what I did, and just cross that threshold into something that they probably weren't familiar with and probably wouldn't have done. When you start talking about things that are uncomfortable or into the unknown, the story that I was telling myself is a couple things. A, this is a fascinating place that I've put myself in again, right? Risk return.
Yep.
Because I do know, and I'm 52 years old, and I've been a risk taker and a gambler, and I've learned some hard lessons in my life. I've been humbled many times. And yet, I think that's the beautiful part of the story, that regardless of the outcome, when you take a chance, when you step outside your comfort zone, there's going to be a positive outlook, assuming you don't get eaten by a wolf.
Yeah.
But but generally speaking, the idea of doing something that's uncomfortable will lead to humility, or it'll lead to confidence. And that's the story that I love to tell myself in those moments. And it relates to all aspects of my life, because that old cliche, everybody has to die, but not everybody really gets to live.
Yeah.
I mean, think about what that means. And I don't know if a lot of people do think about what that means.
Right.
Recently, my mother just passed away in our home. Last year, my father passed away in our home. I was very close to both of them. And as in those moments of finality, and where mortality is a big part of the conversation, I think to myself, there's that other old saying, there's two dates that matter and a dash in the middle, life.
Yeah.
Let's make the most of the dash, and why not?
Right.
Like, why not?
Yeah.
And so when I'm trying to help people and motivate people like yourself in my company and in my friendships and colleagues, it's like, guys, I'm telling you, you say it all the time. You're worthy, right? You're capable.
Yeah.
You're resourceful.
Yeah.
We just have to get you to believe it.
Right.
That's the story that I tell myself in that moment. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then when you're done and you didn't get eaten by the wolf and you are back at the campfire, you're like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, so the story is one of empowerment. Like, I'm resourceful, capable, flexible. And when you're out there in the snow, bringing home that big elk, it's like it is in alignment with your overall story. And I believe your overall story is like, life is an adventure.
Yeah.
And this is part of that adventure. Like, oh yeah, and we get through this, right? And so that's a compelling story, as opposed to like, oh my God, I'm going to die. Uh-oh.
I quit.
I surrender. I quit. Yeah. Really powerful. Hey, we got to take a quick break, but we're going to be back with some more fun talk with Mr. Russ McClellan. Stay with us. Hey guys, welcome back to Live It Up. We're here with Russ McClellan from Keller Williams, and we're talking about some good stuff today. We're talking about fear, we're talking about courage, we're talking about what's your story? What's your story? Is your story holding you back? Is your story pulling you into a compelling future? Really good stuff. And I want to further this conversation and now talk a little bit about capacity. Because as we get experience after experience after experience, we realize that we're capable of more than we thought. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I believe that we often overestimate what we can do in a day. And then when we don't hit that mark, we get discouraged quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And we underestimate what we can do in a year by doing small things consistently.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating adventure to watch somebody that can't walk to the mailbox and back run a marathon
Yeah.
in a year
Yeah.
or 6 months.
Right.
Or like in my hunting example, I didn't work out that much and I'm feeling 52, not 42, not 32. So that first week, I paid the price and I wasn't feeling like I could just go do it. But by the end of the week of that 18-day hunt, my capacity physically could, and most of the time our minds are given up, not our bodies.
Yes.
So, and it doesn't have to be, this doesn't have to be about hunting or have to be about exercise at all. It can be about anything in life. It can be about starting a new hobby.
Mm-hmm.
It's just whatever stops you, whatever limiting belief that you have, we want to assassinate those.
Yeah.
We don't want to just bend them backwards. We want to assassinate those limiting beliefs because you are capable. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
And your capacity is so much more, and it's true for every human being on planet Earth.
Yeah. You know, and capacity is interesting when you think about it in terms of energy. I'm studying right now about energy, like the energy that we have in our body. Right? I mean, we're like this incredible autonomous living being that we have to have an energy source. And a lot of people, you know, they take on a lot, and you'll frequently hear people say, "Oh, I'm wiped out today. I don't have any more energy, and it can't do that." Or you'll see like energy lows and highs in people. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're in a relationship and you get dumped, and you know your energy kind of just goes. Zzz, you know, you're not sleeping. You're not even doing any self-care. Your house is a mess. You're like calling in sick. You're just like moping around. You literally feel like you don't have energy. Mm-hmm. And then that person that dumped you calls you back after like 3 months. And they say, "Gosh, you know what? I've been thinking I was wrong. I made a mistake. Can we get back together?" And then all of a sudden you hang up the phone and you're like, "Yes!" I mean, all of a sudden you have more energy than you know what to do with. And you're like cleaning up the house, or you're getting the shade, you know, everything you're like put back together. Where'd that energy come from? Like you were just saying, "I don't have any energy these days," and then boom, it's the story.
Yeah, right.
Right?
Yeah, it's completely the story. And the thing to remember is your brain left to its own devices is drama driven.
Yeah.
It likes to protect you
Yes.
by telling you you can't do anything.
Yes.
So the question is, are you in charge of your mind, or is your mind in charge of you? Because left to alone, it's the only organ in our body really that thinks it's in charge.
Yeah.
All the other organs do the job, and they're subservient to us.
Yes.
But mentally, are you focused on being purposeful in your thinking? Or are you just going through the motions? And that's where these silly things like meditation work.
Yep.
These things like journaling work. This stuff like affirmations work.
Mm-hmm.
It's not mumbo jumbo. I mean, it kind of sounds like it, but the reality is it's just reminding yourself that you're in charge of you.
Yeah.
And what you think, you become.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so the power of story is so incredible. I was reflecting on this recently, and I was just going through all the things that are story, and I was like, story is what starts war. You know, and story is what brings about peace. Story is what creates a marriage. Story is also what creates divorce. I mean, story is at the core of everything we do. And so story is powerful. And so what I want to encourage the listeners here to do today is to choose an empowering story, right?
Yeah.
And get in the habit, get in the practice of reviewing that story. One of the things that I really impresses me about you, Russ, is that I really do think you're a visionary. And one of the things, what I mean by that is you practice envisioning. Like you've told me so many times about something you're thinking about doing, and then you do it. And like every time we get together, you're giving me updates on it. And this is because it's always in the forefront of your mind. You're always envisioning it, right? And that's what a visionary is. They have an idea, and they get in alignment with it. They keep that vision here. They keep on visioning. They don't just envision it once and then drop it, right? Is that kind of resonate with you?
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand, and you're doing a great opportunity for people on December 29th, I believe, for goal setting. But when we look at a goal, we just look at what we want to accomplish, right? So sometimes that's all people do. I want to run a marathon, or I want to run a mile, whatever it is. I want to make $100,000. That's where they leave it.
Yeah.
I encourage people to make that goal and then come up with two or three items that if you do those items, or if you do those things, your goal will come to fruition. And then underneath those 3 priorities, I guess is a good word for that, the 3 priorities under a goal, then come up with 2 or 3 strategies to achieve each priority. The problem is, so often, and I'm guilty of this, I have 10 goals, right? And so sometimes you get spread too thin, you know? Jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
So Gary Keller wrote a book called The One Thing.
Yes.
And that's very important. And then almost get obsessed with it because you know there's no negative outcome. Because even if you lose, one of my favorite definitions of success is failing over and over and over again without the loss of enthusiasm.
Yeah.
That's a definition of success because, again, it comes down to education. And there's only 2 ways of being, learning-based or ignorant-based.
Yes.
Which one are you?
Yeah.
And are you asking yourself that?
Yeah, you got to ask yourself these questions. You got to get curious, right? Asking these, if you don't ask these questions, you're not going to get the answer, right? So really important to ask the question and pay attention to the answer, so you can learn something. And then I think I love what Elon Musk says. He says, get in the habit of questioning your assumptions. Right?
Yeah, critical thinking.
Yeah.
Don't just be a drone and in the herd. The thing about the herd is they want you to be pulled into the lowest common denominator of yourself.
Yeah.
They're not looking out for your best interest.
Right.
They're looking out for the herd's best interest.
Yeah, exactly.
And in this lovely country of ours, we can do a lot of cool things. And start by just having fun and, you know, your practice of feeling good. It all comes down to mindset. And I always believe, and the reason we invest heavily with our company with you and I'm so focused on mindset is because I frankly believe mindset eats strategies and tactics for breakfast.
Right.
Because without a good mindset, you can have the perfect formula for success and it just won't be engaged. You just won't have that enthusiasm.
Exactly.
But we all can feel good, but it does sometimes take a third party. It does sometimes take a mentor or a coach. You know, we tend to focus on eating right, working out, but we kind of seem to not focus on our mind.
Yeah.
And it seems to me like that's backwards.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. If we prioritize mindset, everything else is going to fall into place. It has to, because when you're focused, when your ways of being, and when I say ways of being, I mean like, are you open? Are you collaborative? Are you willing, ready? Right. Your ways of being dictate your actions every single time. You can't take an action that is out of alignment with your ways of being. So when we get our mindset on and understand what a mindset is, because you have lots of different mindsets. You have a mindset around your marriage, around your business, your health and fitness. Really getting clear about what your mindset is on those and how to nurture those, man, then what you can produce is just off the charts.
Yeah, there's a good example. I'm not a morning person. Hal Elrod, that wrote the Miracle Morning, told me this, and he said, there's no such thing. It's just mindset. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he said, well, when you're a hunter, so when you were 12 and you had to get up early to do something, that sucks. I want to sleep in. I'm not a morning person, Mom, Dad.
Yeah.
I'm 12. But if I say we're going to go fishing, that 12-year-old is up.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, that story that the 12-year-old told
Yes.
himself, he's now a morning person.
Right,
So
right.
it's not a physical thing, it's a mental thing.
Yeah, it's the perfect example that story is going to either compel us or hold us back. Man, we could talk on and on and on, but our time is up. So thanks so much for being here this morning. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it. I'm very grateful.
Yeah, you
Happy
bet.
to be here.
All right, you guys, you know what it's time to do now? It's time to get out there, be a source of kindness, be a source of contribution. You do have something to offer this world, and I believe in you.